Hi, my name is Dave Gregory, minister at Cross the Green Baptist Church, and I'm here with my friend Laura Lee Lovering, who is over in Peru.
Hello.
Hi, Laura. It's great to see you again. Tell us, where you are and what you're doing. You actually just moved recently in Peru, haven't you? Between two different regions. Yeah, tell us a bit about it.
Thanks very much, Dave. So I work with BMS, and I've been in the Peruvian Amazon, northeastern Peru, for about 9.5 years. And then just recently I've moved geographically and in terms of my role with BMS. So I'm now on the desert coast of Peru, a place called Piura, up on the north coast. And I'm basically coordinating BMS's sustainability plan, or what we call our creation stewardship policy. That's my main role here, but I'm also working with local churches to see how I can basically raise the profile of creation stewardship here as well. Yeah.
Great. And when it comes to Peru, you've been in two different regions of Peru. I spent time with you in the Amazon, and now you're in this desert region, very cold, dry desert on the coast of Peru. How do you find people in Peru on the ground are aware of the issues around the environment changing, the environmental crisis and climate change? What's their awareness like, and what are they experiencing?
Yeah, this has always been an interesting thing. When I first started, certainly in the jungle, people really didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Carbon, what's carbon? We cook on carbon footprint. Yeah, none of this really made any sense to them. In the city in Lima, it made a bit more sense to the seminary students, for example. But certainly to your average kind of rural Peruvian, it was a very abstract, meaningless concept. Over the last sort of 9 years, I have seen that sort of change in terms of they're aware of the terms. Certainly the children are. Secondary school kids now are far more aware of the terms that we use, and the right answers to give to the questions. Basically, what is climate change and what should we do? They know the answers, the stock answers, but an appreciation as to what it really means for them on the ground is still not really there. They're not really making the connection. And I think it is a complicated thing, because this is a country of extreme weathers normally. So making the distinction between this is extreme weather, which is a trend of more of extreme weather, and which is just, no, this is just extreme weather, I think is a difficult thing for people to grasp.
I mean, it's interesting, amongst the young people there's a growing awareness, but I mean, and that's certainly true over here as well, I think, with the school climate strikes we've seen over the last couple of years, before COVID hit, that is. But again, it's that putting that into action that perhaps sometimes is a struggle even here, I think, for people as well. So it's interesting that people are there. I know when you were in the Peruvian Amazon, actually, you were doing some work on sustainability and things like that. So what kind of things did work? What small things that, did people embrace to be more sustainable and look after the forest and things like that?
Yeah, I think the thing that was most helpful for people in the forest was actually just telling them how important their role as farmer was. In fact, almost completely taking it away from any kind of fear of climate change, but just meeting them where they're at and saying, you depend on this to live on a daily basis. This is a really important job. Maybe we can do this better. How do you think we could do this better? So can we not cut so much, or can we plant more than we're cutting? Can we be careful how much we're fishing? Can we be careful? Burning. How can we reduce what we're burning? That kind of thing. And I actually found that was more effective. So rather than trying to say, let's try and combat climate change by doing X, Y, and Z, by just saying to them, look, the job you do is really important. You depend on all of these resources for your livelihood and for your children. So let's think, how can we do that better? And with that, they themselves were able to make the connection. And if I then managed to tie it into some sort of climate change thing after that, that was kind of me just doing, due diligence as an environmentalist. But yeah, that was a much more effective avenue of helping them connect. Just good resource management, good creation care, with their lives.
So it's kind of, so you focused on the small things that matter to them, really, that would make a difference to the sustainability of the environment, and that's kind of thing I'm thinking about tonight, the small things. Of course, you're now in the northern coastal part of Peru, where it's not a tropical jungle anymore. It's a dry desert, because most of that coastal region is desert. And water must be an issue there for people.
Yes.
So how are people aware of environmental changes in water happening in your region, do you think?
Yes, I think water, and this is something that people are finding it much easier to connect with, because most of the population of Peru lives along the coast at one point or another. A third of them live in Lima. It's desert. Everyone knows it's desert. It might rain if it rains for 2 months of the year. They measure it in, how many millimeters? Is it 20 millimeters a year? Which is so different from the jungle. So they're very much more aware of the importance of water, not just in both. There are two ways of looking at it as well, because on the one hand, where I am right now, they suffered major flooding in 2017. As a result of underlying reason or underlying cause was the El Nino. It's part of the El Nino phenomenon. Although they are saying they think it's probably was accentuated by climate change elements there. So on the one hand, they're used to the fact that rain can happen here very, very intensively and cause flash flooding, landslides. That's quite normal here. And the rest of the year, it's a desert. And where do they get their water from? They have reservoirs, and they're kind of rain-fed reservoirs. And there's some, obviously, groundwater, which is taken out. And a lot of that is fed in from glaciers up in the mountains, the snowmelt. And I think your average Peruvian is far more aware of water issues because the glaciers are going. I think it's something like a 40% retreat since 1970. They can already see the end in sight, some people estimating. And that will have a massive impact on both sides of the Andes. And obviously, because there are more people on this side, it's going to have a really big impact. So I think people are generally more aware of the water issue. It's a case of whether they can connect that and whether they're routinely connecting that to a climate change thing. And I think there's a slightly better connection there than there is for any other sector, even though, potentially that's not necessarily maybe the biggest sector of problem, in terms of the whole national footprint, but in terms of where the people are and where the vision of the country is, it's very coastal centric, it's Lima centric, and everyone knows, Lima has water shortages regularly. And
I think you're right. I mean, the El Nino phenomena, which every 3 to 5 years brings a lot of rain to the coastal region of Peru. That's one of the things that the climate model is telling us will change its frequency, probably become more frequent, and actually intensify. So that kind of issue is going to be a bigger issue in future years, the kind of things you're describing. Can I bring it back to us and the one small change thing? What kind of one small changes we can make here to make a difference for people in Peru? Because this is an issue that connects us all globally. So what are the small changes we can make in our own lives that will benefit the people's lives in Peru to stop the environment changing and impacting them?
I would say on a positive note, there are things that the average person in the UK really can do in a way that perhaps in Peru we can't. So in the UK, we know that things like your transport footprint, the energy you use in the home, all of these things are quite big in terms of the overall footprint. And these are things that we can all change at home. We can all change our customs, how often we go in the car, how often we get on the bike, how many lights we've got on, how many just how many things we've got going on in the house. They all use energy. And I think energy is one of the really big emitters in the UK.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good thing. That's a positive thing for people in the UK to grasp, to maybe take hold of. At home, there are things we can do. Turn the heating down, change all the lights to LEDs. Try and do stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that makes a difference, actually, changing lights to LEDs.
Yes. Yeah. And even just, I was just thinking the other day, even for myself, how many times am I also on my phone, my tablet, my laptop, and they all have to be charged? Why can't I just switch off? Can we just do more stuff that doesn't require energy? You know, I don't know, learn a musical instrument, not an electric guitar, something, and just try and wean ourselves off always having to use something that consumes energy, because that's a big part of our footprint, and it's doable. It's something that we can do. So I'd encourage people in that direction.
Laura, it's been great to talk to you again, and I really hope you settle into your new role and your new environment, and you know the things you're doing. Always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for giving us your time to talk to us.
My pleasure.
Okay. God bless.
Lovely.
Thanks.
God bless you. Bye bye.